Triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Battle for freedom. Hello everyone, this is Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio. If you want to, my website's www.battle4freedom.com. You can follow me there, learn a little bit more about me, understand everything that who I am, who I say, and everything that I do. But if we're going to do this, and I want to do this the right way, let's start off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, my favorite blend, Watson's White Chocolate Mocha. Take a listen to this, and I'll tell you a little bit more about myself. That's it. I've hit the snooze button a dozen times, and now I have to finally get going. But I'm not going to do this day right if I don't start it off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo 50 Radio. But I'm not going to lie to you. They have a wide variety of blends, but I'm leaning towards the one that's named after me, Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. You know what? It sounds as good as those words that just rolled off of my mouth. Listen, get it today. AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Tell them that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you, and you want Watson's White Chocolate Caramel Blend to start your day off. Join American Pride Roasters Coffee and Mojo 50 Radio, and most important, Battle for Freedom, as we celebrate the best coffee in the nation. American Pride Roasters. American Pride Roasters, start your day off the correct way. As we sit here and we get into so much, this is going to be, and it's an insane day, you know. I'm going to be talking about the election, not the election, but the debates, and there's so much more because we have to get around the travesty that happened last night, and there's just no way to better describe what we had seen yesterday except an utter travesty because of the fact that tons of American people were hoping to hear something, and all we heard was last night. It was an hour and a half of the Jerry Springer show. My name is Watson Prunier. My website's Battle4Freedom.com. And I want you to do me a favor. I need you to share this out. Go to my YouTube page, go to my website, just click like there's no tomorrow, and maybe it'll make yesterday go away faster than ever. I want to talk to you about the Neverlutionary War. The Neverlutionary War and the American tumor called, basically, if you won't see this on there, it's the American tumor called binary politics. If you watched the debate last night, okay, the winners, losers, if anything else, the losers were the American people. We knew it was going to be a slugfest. We knew it was going to be a Jerry Springer show. There's no way of getting back. Now, granted, there are certain things that were covered. There were things that were said. And most important, there was a mentality that it happened last night, and I think that many of us have maybe suffered so many strenuous or difficult situations in our life for so long that we sometimes don't recognize when we feed into a negativity that should not be there. Well, let's get some clearing from that. Let's actually heal ourselves from that. And why don't you consider one of our other sponsors, New Life Holistic, as they talk about bringing about healing for people when your brain kind of just doesn't fire correctly. New Life Holistic. Does your mind seem like it often shuts down before it even starts? Sounds like you need to detox to improve your health in body, mind, and spirit. I'd like to tell you about New Life Holistic. It is an amazing therapy process that uses neurofeedback and biofeedback for many issues that ails everyone. New Life's method and approach to health, balance, energy, and vitality is what sets it apart from anything you have experienced ever before. Call 1-833-4-BIO-LIFE and tell them Watson from Battle for Freedom has sent you. One more thing. Give them the code MOJO50 and save $50 off of your first session. The consult is free. New Life Holistic. Yes, New Life Holistic. And let's try and recover. If you want to interact, you can go to facebook.com/Mojo50 Radio like Lep has done. Good morning. Thank you for being part of the program as we sit here getting into this discussion on this. So winners, losers, I talked about this earlier. The American people lost. The American people lost yesterday in the disaster and the travesty is going on. So let's cover many of the points that everyone's talking about right now. It was Trump versus Wallace and Biden. Now, yes, there were a lot of times when Chris Wallace, yes, I see the thing that he interrupted Trump 76 times, only Biden like 20 something times or whatever it is. But here it is that you run into where the president kept interrupting. There's no way getting around this. And honestly, and here's a crazy thing about it that no one wants to sit here and consider. I call this American tumor called binary politics only because of this perspective, is that there's a third option. There is another option. We keep getting into we pick the lesser of two evils, and I'm sitting here thinking like, why not we just even choose an option that there maybe not be another evil, but there actually might be a good option that's out there. Now, granted, there's still so much more I need to learn about Jo Jorgensen. I had a chance to see her this weekend and even speak to other third-party candidates. You have to understand something. Since 2000, the 2000 election, I've only voted for the Republican president once, and that was in 2004. Every year has been for me to vote Libertarian, third party. I voted for McKinley in 2000. I voted for Chuck Baldwin in 2008. I voted for Gary Johnson in 2012. I voted for McCullen in 2016. The idea of swing votes, the idea of other voters who are out there and who want to see something is very critical when you sit here and you talk about it gets beyond the backstabbing, it gets beyond the smut and all that other stuff that goes on in the air. And here it is that we watch and we wasted an hour and a half of time yesterday trying to get an answer that we already knew was what we were going to hear. Were there critical questions that Donald Trump avoided? Yes. Were there critical Trump questions that Joe Biden avoided? Yes. But the fact that the president choosing to continue to interrupt. Now, some of you may say that this could have been a game play. I'm willing to let's go down that rabbit hole. Let's go down that rabbit hole for a second here to legitimize the reason why the president of the United States kept interrupting yesterday. So one of the things that I learned, and I was sitting here, I was watching this thing here, and I said, okay, let's see what we have here. Let's pay attention. Let's appreciate what's going on here. And the only good thing that I could ever see that came out of the idea of the president choosing to constantly interrupt Joe Biden yesterday was to basically break his resolve. And he did it successfully. Oh, shut up, shut up, man. I mean, that's exactly what you heard. I mean, you heard him call Donald Trump a murderer. You heard him say over and over and everything, again, hitting the Democrat, leftist, liberal, media-driven talking points that Donald Trump is a racist. He's a rich person. He takes care of all of his friends. And I'm sitting here thinking, I was like, Bernie Sanders. I'm Bernie Sanders, but Joe Biden. You've taken advantage of the same taxes that Donald Trump has taken and made available. And Donald Trump has accurately called you out of basically saying that he's only taking care and taking advantage of the tax laws that you made possible. The only reason, remember, most understand this, and for those of you who want to call Donald Trump this rich individual, yes, he's rich. Yes, he has money. But remember, Donald Trump was not president making decisions for his presidency and his taxes before the 2016 and 2017 tax season. Remember this, that everything that came into place is what was made possible because of the likes of a Joe Biden for 47 years. So when he said, now the numbers are accurate when he says, I've done more in 47 months than you have in 47 years. Yeah, it sounded pretty. It sounded great. But remember, the president's probably been only in office for about 42, 43 months, if we want to be accurate on this. Yeah, you're talking about semantics. Yes. At a critical time like this, there's no time. There's no room. There's no room for being pretty. There's no room for being fanciful. It's being factual and sharing the data that matters more than anything else. So if we want to sit here and talk about the whole idea that Donald Trump was arguing and he was fighting with Chris Wallace, yes, he was. But the president also was interrupting. The president was he was constantly interrupting, and again, maybe that was the play, maybe that was the ploy to turn around and get Joe Biden off of his game. It worked. It worked. Joe Biden was flustered. I had the video recording, and there's actually even things of people saying that he probably could have been wearing a wire. It looks like more might have been the folding of his shirt, a crease in his shirt, than it would have been him wearing a wire. But there were a lot of times, too, if you study and you watch the debate, he was looking down. So what was on the podium made available for Joe Biden as he was sitting here, he was having this conversation. But again, even as we watch this slugfest that took place last night, why wasn't a third party candidate allowed to be up there? See, because here's the thing about it. Again, this is not me advertising for Joe Jorgensen. But you have to understand this. Joe Jorgensen, Dr. Joe Jorgensen, Libertarian Joe Jorgensen, who would have been in front of America for everyone to see. Here is your chance to elect your first female president. If you're tired of the nonsense that's going on, they did not understand this. The reason why they didn't want Joe Jorgensen up there yesterday was because of the fact that they would see a level-headed American citizen who actually can fill a complete sentence and actually talk about the issues. See, because again, things that were ignored last night. Yes, Chris Wallace went on massive. Chris Wallace, apart from the interruptions from the President of the United States, I think there was maybe only 2 questions that Chris Wallace had posed against Joe Biden that really confronted Joe Biden about his stances and about things that he's done in his past. Whereas the greater majority of the other things that he covered were talking points against Donald Trump. And it was rather unfortunate, talking about the $750 in paying taxes. What does that have to do? Again, you pose this question of paying taxes, $750, whatever it is. Tell me your taxes. The idea of trying to use the debate to turn around and get the president to talk about his taxes of things that are happening in court. That is irresponsible, and it is unfortunate. Now, the president should have just basically said, he did cover it. You will get that information when it's time for you to have that information available to you. Now, what's going to be in his tax returns? What's going to be in his information? Guess what? We need to find out and we need to see it. And we also need to make sure there's no trickery done in his tax returns, as well as that of Joe Biden, of that of Bernie Sanders, of Hillary Clinton, of Barack Obama, of all of them. You know that they massage the books. You know that they did all the red tape that they can to avoid you knowing exactly where their things are going, their shell companies and everything like that. The American people lost. But again, let me get back to the whole idea of not bringing in a third-party candidate. Because the things that Joe Jorgensen was going to challenge on is, hey, folks, we clamored and we got angry with the spending that happened under the previous administration. $10 trillion under the former administration of former President Barack Obama. $10 trillion. Actually, not $10 trillion, almost $11 trillion in just spending. Here we are. Was it near 11? Near $5 trillion and $5 trillion in spending in the first 3.5 years. The great negotiator has not shut down the spending, because at the end of the day, the Republicans and the Senate, the Congress and the Senate, they can pull any bill that they want forward. But at the end of the day, it's the president's veto pen that would have basically said, we're not doing this to the American people. We're not doing this to the American people. Don't brag about the size of the military. Do not brag about the size of the military, because of the fact that we already understand that there's a major spending problem with our industrial military complex. However the phrase goes through, military industrial complex, whatever it is, folks, we're spending way too much money. We have people, we have soldiers, we have families that have been ripped apart because we're all over the world trying to fight battles all over the world. One thing I really appreciate Joe Jorgensen saying is, and I agree with it, bring our troops home and let them defend our borders. Guess what? You go hit the northern border, hit the southern border, basically look and make certain that our east and west coast are taken care of. And guess what? It's less time you traveling across the world to get back and protect our interests here in this country. Oh, well, Watson, that means that we don't have a presence in the rest of the world. Exactly. If we want to have this whole idea of how can we have America first mentality and still be scattered around the world? And how can we be American first if we constantly are sending money to build things in other countries, set up so much in other countries? Oh, well, we need to have intelligence out there on what's going on. You know what? America has been so hated for so long that maybe America just needs to back off and let everybody do what they need to do. Does this mean that tyranny will ring around the rest of the world? Most definitely it will. But that doesn't mean that America is supposed to be the one who's constantly fighting the battle. And this is one of the things that Jorgensen would talk about. This is one of the things that we needed to hear last night, but we didn't, because we were talking about tax returns. We were talking about, and rightfully so, talking about Hunter Biden. Because at one point, as the president kept hammering it, he kept hammering it. And understand this, a lot of you who may not like the process of what the president of the United States of America did yesterday, I want you to clearly understand what he did last night, because it didn't get lost on me. Now, many of you, and I would say it was petulant, right? Yes, I would probably say that it was petulant. But here's the thing about it, though. His attacks yesterday against Wallace, and whether it's offensive or defensive against Wallace, his attacks against, Biden yesterday is exactly what has been going on in American cities by Antifa and Black Lives Matter. His behavior last night has been nothing but a reflection of the attacks that's been happening from the Democrat Party from the moment that he was elected. Every one of you who sit here and you say you want some kind of civility, why in the world should he be civil when he's been facing non-stop attacks? Hillary lost. They wouldn't concede. Hillary did not, did she ever concede? But kept fighting every moment to delegitimize. Let's cook up Russian collusion. We find out that it was her choice to sit there and start the rhetoric of Russian collusion. So technically speaking, you did not concede the election. You never did, because you kept trying to delegitimize this presidency. He won. A lot of you in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013 kept telling people who did not care for former President Barack Obama, get over it, he's your president. He's my president. He's my president. But guess what? We have everybody sitting there out there uttering that not my president, not my president. What happened to your conviction? What happened to your conviction of respecting the person in the office? You don't have to respect the man. You do have to respect the office. That was the language that was uttered to us for 8 years under former President Barack Obama. But that language has been completely gone. It has completely vanished off of the landscape. And many of you sit here condemning. And yes, you have a right to condemn the petulant behavior. But understand this. What you saw last night was only a mere reflection of the visceral hatred that has come from the left and the media against this president and against this administration. Make no mistake, 2 years ago, we saw a mockery. We saw a mockery of conduct in the way that they obliterated Brett Kavanaugh to prevent Donald Trump from having a Supreme Court justice pick. You should be offended. The fact that many of you sat there and you believed Chrissy Blasey Ford, you didn't even give Brett Kavanaugh the benefit of the doubt. He was white and he was a man and he was guilty. That right there, that's an American tumor. That right there, where because we all say innocent until proven guilty. Right now, we are sitting there. We have more frustration about what happened to Breonna Taylor from Americans around the world, and there was utter silence. Actually, there was hearty approval of what happened to Brett Kavanaugh 2 years ago. And the visual hatred has now even made its way to even what's going to be attacking Amy Coney Barrett as soon as we start these proceedings October 12th. You guys sit here and you talk about you want justice, you want freedom, you want equality. Then show it, live it. This inconsistency is hurting. America is dying because of the fact that last night what we watched, we're not evolving. And I'm not talking about I'm not talking about evolution. There's a point where we do evolve. There's a point where we do hopefully morally exceed our previous state of behavior and regression. Hopefully we move towards a moral absolute vision of following and being moved. If we want to talk about God bless America, then America has to be blessing God in its behavior. Why is God consistently obligated to be this genie in a bottle who strikes down blessings upon this nation that has been blessed for more than 200 years? But we have no moral obligation to put people of substance, of character, of vision. No, we don't want someone who's going to be nice. We want someone who's going to get the job done. Yeah, I think we can get the same. I think we can get both. See, that's the problem with this tumor called there's only two options. Again, you vote for whoever you want to. You want to vote for Biden? Vote for Biden. You want to vote for Trump? Vote for Trump. You want to vote for Jorgensen? Vote for Jorgensen. Your choice in what you want to do. But the moment that many of you start attacking libertarians, the moment you start attacking Democrats, the moment you start attacking Republicans for who they vote for, you are part of the tumor destroying America. Make no mistake, what we watched yesterday was a bastardization of truth and decency and decorum. It was lost. Chris Wallace, horrific job, man. Horrific job. I'm not saying that it was made as an easy situation. It would have been made as an easy situation because if there was a third candidate there, we could have allowed. Because what are Biden and Trump going to say against Jorgensen as she sit there talking about our spending? As she sit there and talks about the strong arm of, because here's the thing about it, in all the language about attacking the failures of responding to COVID-19, the failures of whether you want to wear a mask or not. No one wants to talk about the strong arm of the government that's actually come in and crippled Americans. Yeah, shut down the economy. Yeah, Biden pointed out, Trump confirmed it. And millions of Americans are suffering right now. Millions of Americans who work in hair, who work in hair salons, who work in restaurants, who have photography businesses, who are DJs, who are event planners and event hosts. They're struggling. They're struggling to make ends meet. Now, the thing about it, again, even this whole idea of talking about the 200,000, you sit here and they attack the president and they basically say that you killed 200,000 people. I think it is morally irresponsible and it is downright offensive to the truth to continue uttering that statement. Now, y'all can say that, yeah, it was on his watch. It was great when the president called out H1N1. That was perfect when he called out H1N1. What, you can get on me talking about COVID-19 when you had H1N1? You guys failed there. It wasn't just H1N1 and people lost their lives. It was more than that. It was more than that. Many more people lost their lives. And we sat there and people kept trying to, because you got to hit the 200,000, because that short-term memory is all that people have. So in the sparring match, I would probably say give the president the win in terms of a lot of the good, strong jabs that were presented in there. I wish it would have been less of a sparring match and actually more of a discussion, more of a debate of what we needed so that the ideas, the truth could probably get out there. I'll talk more about this or maybe I'll even just dump it because of the fact that we're not doing better. We're not doing better as a result of this. And I'm praying that things will change as a result of this. Listen, we're about to go to a break here in a second. Timing's off by a few seconds, but we're going to go to a break. And when we get back, I don't know where we're going to go, but America has to go somewhere. It has to move up. It has to move in the right direction. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle4Freedom and Mojo 50 Radio. Let's go to a break, and I'll talk to you beautiful people on the flip side. This election will be vital to the health and sustainability of our country. Our role from this day on could steer the election in either direction. Why? The way we treat one another. In John 13:35, Jesus says, "By this all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." We know that every election cycle brings out the worst in us. If there was ever a point for honesty, it is in how we act during election season. As much as we would want our candidate to win, attacking a person with contrary opinions only makes them determined to reject our point of view all the more. It may come off as ignorant from them, but we cannot claim innocence if we allow arrogance and disrespect to be the means in which we communicate with those who support the other party or other candidates. Our goal was and will never be to convert voters. Our role is to give them the information needed prior to them casting their vote. It is their choice and right of what they do with that information. Understand, more people are aware of the political corruption and hypocrisy than they wish or want to admit. So there's nothing for us to prove. Choose to be people who invoke change rather than people who irritate and strain. Dale Carnegie once wrote, "A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still." In other words, give people the room to make their own mistakes. Without seeing that they were wrong, they would be blind to see what is right. Remember, every soldier present and gone have fought for the right of every American citizen to vote their own conscience. To insult and ridicule people for exercising their liberty to vote for their candidate is to also desecrate the efforts, memories, and sacrifices made by our heroes for said liberty. Please, show respect. Our nation depends on it. Welcome back, everyone. This is Watson Prunier from Battle4Freedom on Mojo 50 Radio. I'm glad that you're here with me as we sit here trying to recover from that painful. CJ Long says it right. Last night was painful to watch. There were some couple of moments where you sit there and you laugh and you joke and you're like, okay, that was pretty hilarious to be said. But at the end of the day, America lost on this. And honestly, I really wish that we could rewind the clock back and try and do this completely different, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. As long as people keep thinking that there's a binary option, things will never improve. You know what actually is a better option for you? What are you going to do when it comes to power? Because of the fact that when the grid goes down and things are about to get crazy here, you need a power solution, and let's listen to Patriot Energy. Are your energy bills getting out of hand and you want more control of your expenses? Consider Patriot Energy, a local veteran-owned solar company. You need honesty, integrity, and clarity. These markers are essential in the ever-growing solar industry. Call 602-721-6717 for a free quote. Tell them that Watson from Battle4Freedom sent you, and he's from Mojo 50 Radio. And that number again, 602-721-6717. Call Patriot Energy today. You know, as we sit here and you watch it, you know, the whole idea of, okay, so some of the different things that were taking place on this. Again, I said in the first segment, you know, okay, how do we answer for the spending, Mr. President? Our debt, conservatives, how do we, fiscal conservatives, as we sit there, everyone's sitting here getting mad at Thomas Massey. Everyone's getting mad at these Republicans who are speaking out against the whole idea of our spending and everything like that. But no one wants to be responsible. No one wants to basically say, let's hold back on the spending because of the fact that this is going to be a burden for our American children, our grandchildren, and generations to come. That's something that a libertarian would talk about if we actually had time. We would have more room for better discussion, but I guess that's the problem. Because of the fact that we had to showcase our worst options in front of us. Yes, Joe Biden is he's not even an option for the United States of America. But you know what? Now, there may be strength that comes from Donald Trump. I'm not going to argue on that. Maybe there may be some strength, and maybe the United States had to be put back in a position where we weren't going to constantly be raped by the rest of the world. Most definitely, bravo on fixing that situation. Because for some strange reason, the United States was all of a sudden obligated to take care of the rest of the world. There was no response. There was no obligation for other countries to be fiscally responsible, to turn around and start embracing principles. Now, I wouldn't say so much democratic principles, but principles that moves you towards away from socialism and move towards and move away from tyranny or totalitarianism that's in other countries. But the problem that you run into is even in our beautiful model that we have here in this country, it is failed from this perspective. Every person serving in office is a fallen, broken human being who needs to fall at the face of Jesus and worship him as Lord and Savior. When we turn around and we abandon our humanistic principles that decide that we want to lambast and completely destroy the character, the personality, the life, and the livelihood of other individuals because of the fact that we want to be on top, we want to be the kings, we want to be the rulers, that goes to show that we don't have the moral compass to be functioning as a society. There is no civilization. Last night was not civil. And that is basically a reflection of what we've seen in our country over the last 6 months, not just the last 6 months, the last 6 years, the last 6 decades, the last 6 centuries, and actually the last 6,000 years. Humanity is fallen, broken. We will kill, we will steal, we will destroy just for our own safety, security, and selfishness. Period. There's no way around it. And we have to turn around and fix other countries around the world. I understand giving other countries ideas, concepts, and helping them go. I mean, pick up Poverty Inc. Poverty Incorporated. It's a great documentary. You have to watch it. It is well played out, and it shows the devastations of what we've done, the United States has done to Haiti. Haiti was in the 50s, in the 1950s, Haiti was very independent, doing everything that they needed to do. They were self-sufficient, but then you know what happened is they decided to adopt its ideas of socialism and fascism. And that's what made it possible for Baby Doc and Papa Doc and Duvalier to come in, and the Duvaliers to turn around and make that country a living hellhole. For all those decades, my parents fled it because of the fact it was a living hellhole, that people got drunk with power and they decided to start killing people. They disarmed the people, and then they came in with their voodoo militias and they started killing people. They turned around, they allowed the thugs to run the street. They allowed the militias to run the street, not the militias like in this country that are basically being called and considered domestic terrorists. And last night, Joe Biden refused to sit here and denounce. Everybody's like, Donald Trump didn't refuse to denounce. No, he didn't refuse to denounce white supremacy. He's done it on multiple occasions. And the idea of trying to push that into the face of the president, that was completely dishonest by Chris Wallace, and not holding Biden to task to sit there and condemn Antifa and Black Lives Matter. But for Joe Biden to sit here and say that Antifa is not a group but an idea right there. You tell me of the burning cities, of the beaten people, of the looted stores. You tell me how much of an idea that really is. You tell me, I just saw it just in Seattle, showed the picture of a scientist who was bloodied, standing in a hospital emergency room area, who was bloodied because he was sitting on a bench in Seattle minding his business. Big black guy comes up and punches him and knocks him out. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, whatever it is. It's interesting that, you know what, he turns around and he talks about Antifa, but he never says that Black Lives Matter was an idea. Because at the moment that he turns around and he starts identifying it, and again, I thought it was completely irresponsible. How do you sit here and not even bring up the idea? Joe Biden, you said that if black people don't vote for you, they ain't black. Why didn't you bring that up, Chris Wallace? You want the president to denounce white supremacy, but you did not turn around and ask and require Joe Biden to answer those questions? It wasn't just that. That Joe Biden on many occasions said the N-word in its full glory. in its full glory. He said Nigger on the Senate floor, and in front of the American public with no rebuke. But we don't want to talk about that because we have to, and trust me, Donald Trump did enough of his own to make himself seem unstable. You know, it's so Jamie says, I believe that all parties should be invited to the debate. To me, it's like, why have a third party if they can't even participate in the same as other two parties? It's the problem that you're going to have in this because here's the reason. Great question, Jamie. The reason why this is going to happen is because they have to peddle the lie that there are only two options. And then each side get a chance to say it's good, they're evil. Because remember, on the idea of the binary, on, off, good, evil, left, right, but the idea that there could be something in between, that the light switch could actually stop somewhere in between the two of on and off, and that actually can do that. See, the way we think, the way we function, our light switches don't. Now we have dimmers, we have even three-way lights of what you can have on that system, but for some strange reason, everything is. Think about this. The media pushes the narrative that we have more than one gender. The left pushes the idea and the concept that we have more than one gender. Okay, it's no longer male, it's cisgender, cis male, cis female. It's everything that you can imagine across the spectrum. So why is it that the left is not also arguing for the reality of there being more than one party? Now, I know why the right doesn't want to argue about there being an existence of another party, because they know that if turn around and given the opportunity to see whether it was Joe Jorgensen, Gary Johnson was a disappointment. I'm just hoping in the stability that we see in Joe Jorgensen, she never evolves into a likes of a Gary Johnson. Now, all of us, if we could prop him up and we can basically give him bionic parts, Ron Paul running for office would have been a better option when you're talking about getting some financial and common sense legislation to basically get the government out of the way. But unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. Unfortunately, we don't have that luxury. And it's disgusting. It's disappointing. And it won't change. Oh, Wallace was definitely coddling Biden. The president, if anything, he successfully got it accomplished that he turned around and he flustered Joe. He flustered Joe. And it's pretty bad. Right? See, because here I want to entertain that thought for a second here. So, as the instability of Biden was shown last night. Remember 2 years ago when everybody got mad that Brett Kavanaugh finally spoke up and he spoke from the hip and he shared what he needed to. Now everybody was like, "Oh, look, that shows he's not partial and everything like that. Look at the side that he's taking." Now everybody said that disqualified him from that. So last night when Joe Biden started telling the president of the United States to shut up, when Joe Biden started calling Trump a racist, a murderer, and everything like that, and that started showing his instability, did that disqualify him? Oh, well, he was being overwhelmed and he was being attacked in it. You don't like that. Oh, wait, so it's only available for when liberals are being attacked that defense is required and going on the offense is required. Because understand this, I don't approve of sexual assaults of any kind, whether it's male against female, female against female, male against male, female against male, it doesn't matter. But with this whole idea of the hashtag Me Too statement, it was irresponsible from this perspective. You only highlighted one segment of individuals being affected by sexual assault, by being attacked by this. But when the opportunity presented itself to show you of other individuals, whether of the same relationship of attack and victim being exposed, you were silent on that matter. And when you showed it, whether it just changed from the sex of the attacker and the victim, you completely change your narrative on this idea out there. So the idea of hashtag Me Too, The Me Too movement is a farce, just like Black Lives Matter is a farce, because of the fact that if you really did care about black people, you would sit there being angry about how black lives are being lost on a daily basis at a 9 times higher ratio than what you see happening again with white on black crime, or cops on black people crime, murders and things like that. We got to talk about systemic racism. How about we talk about systemic ignorance that you continue to perpetuate in the black community to keep them angry, to keep them ignorant, and to keep them unable to make the right decisions. You teach them what to think instead of how to think, and what happens is they're stuck in their communities, never evolving to more in life, because they're thinking that the mediocrity, the standard of mediocrity that they see presented to them, is the best that life will offer them. That's the best that they'll get. So Cardi B will be their idol. Kanye West will be their idol. Now, mind you, these individuals have figured out a way to take advantage of the system and make as much money as they possibly can. Give them credit on that. Give Kanye West, give Cardi B the credit and due to them that they were able to manipulate and take advantage, just like Donald Trump was able to take advantage of the tax laws to pay whatever amount of money, as low as you may be offended about it. Listen, here's the thing about it. Instead of being offended that Donald Trump only pays so much or so little in his taxes, why don't you learn the system and do the same thing yourself? Oh, wait, you don't have that kind of money because of the fact that you're not good with managing your money, and you're not good, and you don't have the capital to make the investments to do and take the risks and challenges that he does. Oh, you haven't been down his road, so then you have no business actually saying anything about what he's doing with his taxes. If you haven't been a good steward of the funds entrusted to you, how dare you talk about other people in the way that they've been responsible, irresponsible, taking advantage of loopholes or whatever. If you want to be angry, don't be angry at Donald Trump. Be angry at the people who set up the system that allowed Donald Trump to basically get away with spending as little as he possibly can on his taxes. But attacking him instead of the system that made it possible for him to do that is what shows the fact that you are suffering under the teat of the American tumor that is hurting so many lives in this country today. We were just completely distracted yesterday. We were completely distracted on this, and it was completely disgusting to watch this. Now, a couple of things, because PolitiFact towards the end of the debate sat there and started doing like, well, Trump was wrong here, and Biden was partly false here. He was partly false here, but everything that Trump said was completely wrong, completely false. And then the whole idea of Trump talking about Hunter Biden getting the $3.5 million. And they said, well, PolitiFact said that, it was out there. And the Democrats said that there was nothing in the report that would say anything of that. Really? So I will make sure that you have the link on my page. I will make sure that you even have a link to an attachment, just in case they block you downloading the official Senate report, where you can go to page 5 on the Senate report. You can go to page 68, and you can go to page, I think it's 84 of the Senate report. That basically tells you multiple times, is 3 or 4 times in that report, it mentions that Hunter Biden received $3.5 million. PolitiFact is saying that it was proved. And again, when you look at the very end, PolitiFact says that it's not true because of the fact that the Democrats said it didn't happen. If you ask a drunk person, or if you ask a crack dealer, were they dealing drugs, I'm sure given the opportunity, they say, no, I'm not dealing drugs, as they're basically turning around and throwing the drugs out of their pocket so you can't see them. That is the most weakest argument to basically verify and say that there's no truth to the allegations that Trump Biden received $3.5 million by the Democrats, saying they say it wasn't in the report and it didn't happen. Read the report for yourself before they decide. So what are they going to do? They're going to block Senate.gov? Are they going to block the official document that's out there that shows again, page 85, page 5, page 68, and page 84 or 89? I posted them on my page yesterday. Go to my professional or my public page for Facebook, Watson Prunier, facebook.com/real Watson Prunier. And you'll see exactly what's out there. It shows all of the stuff that's out there, the hypocrisy, the lies, the illegitimacy of, and again, because and at one point Joe Biden got mad because he's like, let's not go after family. No. Too late, Mr. Biden. Too late. The president properly called you out. You were sitting in that meeting when you knew that there was going to be a transfer of power. You guys chose to sit there and cook up this big lie of Russian collusion. You cooked up this big lie of trying to taint General Flynn. You were in there. You were following this. You were there. You were present on what took place, on the sheer disgusting corruption, worse than what Nixon. Because all you guys you have your heydays, you sitting there having pinching your nipples and happy about Nixon and his corruption. Watergate, Obamagate is bigger than anything that you can ever imagine, but you've guys done everything that you can to squash that subject, squash that discussion, because of the fact that you don't want anybody knowing about what you did. You guys, listen, understand this. The only reason why the FBI can sit there and investigate Donald Trump during the election and even after the election is that they had to get approval from the President of the United States of America. At that time, it was Barack Obama who gave the FBI the authority to sit there and investigate a duly elected president, a presidential candidate, a president-elect, and then even a president who was to be sitting there and inaugurated. You turned around and you sat there and you approved this barbarity against justice and the American decision made by the American people in 2016. Don't sit here and talk about you guys. You want to sit there and fight corruptions and abuses of power. Y'all sitting there. Obama was, I so appreciate when we had a president who could speak in full sentences. Do you also appreciate that same president who sat there and sanctioned things far worse than Watergate? Lois Lerner and the IRS. It was proven that the IRS was targeting conservative groups, libertarian groups, non-liberal, non-democrat groups were being targeted by the IRS, by the authorization of former President Barack Obama. It was proven, but you guys sit there. He was so much of a better speaker. So when Dan Bongino continues to push every day, it's this day of the year, and Barack Obama was still the most corrupt president in the history of the United States of America. Yes, Dan, still praying for you, brother, but it's true. But we don't want to have that discussion because Orange Man bad is all that matters right now. And any of you who have a modicum of decency, a modicum of integrity or character, you will sit there and you will actually acknowledge and rebuke the behavior of former President Barack Obama. As much as you turn around and you want to be angry with what Donald Trump has done, trust me, I wish that we could see better behavior from the President of the United States of America. But this idea that we are stuck with these binary options is what has got us here to this point today. 50 years of change by Dems has destroyed the U.S. And here's the thing about it, Belinda. It's not even change. It's the status quo. Understand this. Understand this clearly. Everybody's freaking out. Now, do I want Amy Coney Barrett? Yes, I do. But here's the discussion that no one's having, and that we need to understand, and it's clear more than anything else. I have nothing against Amy Coney Barrett. I think her career speaks for itself, and I think every individual who has served as I may disagree with Ruth Bader Ginsburg as in many of the decisions that she's made. But understand this. We've put a lot of hope and power into these government positions. the presidency, the vice presidency, the Speaker of the House, the Supreme Court, Congress, the Senate. We put so much power into these organizations. They are the biggest, most attractive magnets we have in this country right now for power. Do you not recognize that government power is the biggest cancer eating away at anything called liberty and freedom? This idea, this hope for power, that we're hoping that, the Supreme Court can make these decisions and they can change things. And I'm sitting here thinking, do you realize that if you give the Supreme Court the power to rule and destroy our liberties, and right now you're hoping that it will go in our favor. Right now you're hoping for decades upon decades of conservative rule on the court. But the court never should have that level of power. No one wants to have that discussion. The court should never have that level of power. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter if it's a liberal court, it doesn't matter if it's a conservative court. It never should have enough power to rule and destroy our personal liberties. And no one wants to have that discussion. We're vying to turn around and control the White House, control all these different things in government. And I'm sitting here thinking, for those who want less government intervention, we need to actually start stripping away the power that the government has in order to affect and to destroy the lives of millions and millions of Americans. And actually, it doesn't even have to be millions and millions of Americans. It could be one American. It could be 10 Americans. It doesn't matter. We need to stop. We need to stop desperately wanting to shoot there and shift all this power to the government and assume that they're going to be the ones who are going to fix these problems for us. I know someone's getting ready to come on early in the morning. He's up in the morning after Battle for Freedom, and I'm sure that right now he's probably screaming, "Watson!" Yeah, so I know Brad Staggs is eager to get ready for coming up next. If you're listening to Battle for Freedom in the morning, it after that you have the Daily Mojo with Brad Staggs. It's in the afternoon. You have Politically Correct Radio with Stu Peters and Richard Leonard. But there's a wide variety of other programs that you can listen to that's on Mojo 50 Radio. It's a beautiful network. It's a wonderful network, and I'm praying that many of you will have the chance to make a difference and start changing this country for the right way. I've been so hot. I've been on fire for the last, I don't know how long, and I just need to back away from the microphone because that was just a little bit too intense for me. Let's actually go to something better. Let's end this program off on the note that I always like doing. And thank you again, Beth, for I finally realized that Beth has me doing the attitude of gratitude to not only bless you guys as you sit here and you look at what we're talking about, but it also calms me down. Oh, attitude of gratitude. Here's a beautiful story. Enjoy the graphic as you're sitting here looking at this. Single dad adopts 13-year-old after he's abandoned at the hospital. Peter Mudubazi lives in Charlotte, but he hails from a completely different continent, and his childhood was also rough. He grew up in Uganda. He grew up in the poorest of neighborhoods, and he didn't have a good childhood. He ran away from home and became a street kid. He said that he realized his calling to be a foster father after he himself was rescued and had taken in was what he needed the most. He says, "How can I not give back?" And this is interesting because you sit there and here's a black man from Uganda fostering and then adopting a white kid. Now, it's going to be really interesting because everyone's going to appreciate the love that he's dumped on this child to offer love, offer compassion on there. Things that you won't have to worry about white people saying is, hey, you make sure you don't neglect to teach him about his whiteness, because people aren't going to be worried about the influences of this black man on this white child. Roles reversed, and unfortunately, we in a sick, twisted society, when there's an opportunity where a white person adopts a black kid, even the language of what was said about Amy Coney Barrett doing it for optics and for power and colonialism. Folks, we are so driven to politics. We're so driven to partisanship that we even defile the sanctity of compassion. I really appreciate Peter Mutazbazi for what he has done. There are many more people like him who have chosen to adopt children and be a blessing in their lives, to rescue them and give them some level of stability in the midst of all the craziness and wackiness that's going on. Right now, we watched an hour and a half of a slugfest yesterday, and America needs to recover. America needs to do better, and America can do better. Here's your chance. I'm asking every last one of you. You have an act of compassion, and you have an act of love that you can do right now. There are people who are hurting, and I'm saying go in there and you choose who it is that God has put in your heart to just bless them. It doesn't have to be racially motivated. It doesn't have to be genderly motivated. It just needs to be right that you bless someone who needs to be helped. Do it without violence, but do it with compassion. Listen, I'm your host, Watson Bernier from Battle4Freedom. I'm out. I'm done. Thank you all for commenting. God bless you.